God. Thank God it's not all about me, people. I wouldn't want that. So, everybody.
But we want it all.
But we do want it all. It's true. Hey, if you haven't guessed, we're live, and stuff's happening. So many things are happening. Where to begin this week? I don't know, but I'm going to sit up straight for once because I just feel like I'm crouching. I'm here, and my two friends on Zoom are here too, and Danielle is here. Hey, Danielle, I'll give you a wave.
Not your friend.
Oh, Billy's not my friend, he's just here. So, if you are caught up, we've been talking about the self in the spiritual sense. Danielle has been here. You two have not been here, but you were here the week before, Carrie, so you had the intro to that.
I did.
You did. So, you did some of the mind mapping? Did you do any of the mind mapping? No.
No.
All right, well, guess what you're doing this week. If you have done some of the mind mapping, if you need a refresher, just watch last week. I actually physically did one so you could see what it looks like in the rough form. And, of course, there's a link for it on Vanessa M, Meyer LLC Facebook. So, you can find that there as well.
Heidi did a mind map.
She did? Good. The rough mind maps are the best because they really just come out quickly and you don't have to edit anything, and then you can always go back to it. So we will revisit this at a later date, but today, first and foremost, we have to look at the background because I do not have a beautiful tapestry up. No. Instead, I have my husband's amazing handiwork, Revamp Man. That's him, my hubby. So if you can see, I'll get out of the way, he made this crazy, I don't know what to call it, shelving system for the bass and guitar and ukulele and everything. And I'm going to have to take a good picture of it when I can get up without ruining the video, because the LEDs change color, and he actually put, you see those two vents up there? That is from our old Breville toaster oven. So they're like little grills, and they have a switchboard on the other one, and it's just, he's incredible. Anyway, yes, so cool, Danielle. I'm gonna have to take some good pictures of it. So I had to do a shout out for that, and I'll have to tag his page for that too. He's cool. So what else is going on? So tonight we're going to continue with the spiritual self, and I had like all this mapped out in my head, but because I never have time to like write things down, I'm like, oh, where am I gonna start? We're going to start with this. So last week we kind of were encroaching on how we identify with the self. So with the mind map, it was all about, okay, I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, I'm this, I'm that, and all these things. Hey, Steve, what's up? And all these things that come up for us when we talk about ourselves, basically. Like our identity tend to be the things that we do. Or if you are something like I'm a mom. Why are you laughing? What are you laughing about? Okay. So then I kind of started speaking about what happens if something is taken away from us. I'm ignoring my Zoom friends because they're making jokes that I can't pay attention to right now. Anyway, so what happens if something, changes in your body? That's one of the easiest things to do. So the question starts to present itself, how definite is our self-identity? And still, this is starting to border on the psychology version of self and identifying, but we're going to keep into the spiritual self too, because they cross over. Billy, you're distracting me. Stop it. What? So what happens if you get injured or something like that? And that means that you aren't able to do something you love. If you have a wrist injury and suddenly you can't play guitar properly, or anything physical like that, it's really easy to relate to. So what happens? What does that mean? Does that mean that you're not a guitarist? Does that mean that you can't be a dancer? Getting a little serious, even though I'm ignoring you guys. It just starts to make you question things. Do I need an example? Sure, give me an example. I'm waiting.
When I had career-ending concussions after identifying as a basketball player for 20 years.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one. So Carrie is a natural athlete, has been all her life. Hey, Heidi. And she had a series of concussions, and it changed the course of everything for her in many, many ways. And one was that she couldn't play basketball anymore. And in fact, she's not allowed to technically. So, because it's too dangerous for her. So what does that mean? And we don't necessarily have to go into that right now, but Carrie, if there's anything that you want to offer quickly, how did you deal with that? And did you change your identity?
I felt like I lost my identity, especially because I was so young, and that's how I identified for so long.
Yeah.
But then I decided to do something else basketball-wise, and I've been coaching for 10 years.
Okay, so she changed the role, and that's part of what goes on with a spiritual identity too. So these questions are really, really important, right? There's something else that happens too. It forces us to adapt, and that's exactly, stop it. That's exactly what Carrie basically did. In fact, she decided to, find a way to keep it in her life. And, that's how we change. I'm stuttering now. Thanks a lot, guys. And that's how we take something that happens, and turn it around and make it something that we can work with. I'm so trying to ignore him. He's terrible. Hey, Lauren. So instead of making a giant speech of motivation for you guys, what I really want to do is just start to pose these questions for yourself. So if you found yourself on your mind map with all these things that you identify with, and remember there might have been one area that you were like, I remember for me, teaching came up, and because because I'm not teaching the way that I was teaching before, particularly in workshops and in, small group things for Reiki Master and stuff like that, which, by the way, I will switch around really soon. But because that hasn't been happening, the first thing that came out of my thought process was actually something negative. And then I gave for homework was to take this mind map and continue with it and highlight the parts that stuck out to you that were kind of surprising. That part was surprising for me. I didn't think that I was feeling negative about it. And that's the beauty of a quick mind map. Hey, Ben. So now taking that, so if you had something that came up for you that was not so great or stuck out to you, I want you to focus on what that means for you. So if there's, for example, something that you're not physically doing right now, and it came up in the mind map and it was not so great, and we want to focus on that, you want to change the role, right? You want to be able to find a way to utilize this recovering, this uncovering of something that isn't looking so good for you. So for example, my teaching part came out and it was I don't remember what the word was, I don't have it with me, but it was something about I was failing or something was weird. So I started writing about that the next day, where I was all right, this is what it looked like a few months ago for my teaching. It's not looking like that now. Well, what do I want to come from it? And started rapidly writing again. And within a few minutes, things came up for me idea-wise that really weren't, hadn't been vocalizing before, and suddenly it was there. But in terms of the identifying part of it, there is a mind block that can happen. Once something is so-called, I don't want to say taken away from you you're such a victim, because I don't want to play the victim role, but when something is not available anymore, it can be really distracting, and it creates this noise, that this narrative can start to repeat on ends, that it's not good, it's not working, I'm never going to be like that again, and then starts to impede on your self-worth. And that's obviously a big, big problem. So you have to find a way to reverse that role and adapt. And the beauty of us spiritual-wise is that once you start to use this trick, or use this technique, or use this awareness, that's really the best word for it, it's super easy after a while, in a sense, because you allow yourself to almost grieve certain parts of it, because some of it can be really big. For Carrie, that was really huge, obviously. That was just life-changing. And then after that allowance, you can start to become aware of other options, and they start to present themselves pretty rapidly as soon as you take that role of responsibility, and this is your life, you still want to live, right? We've all heard the inspiring and horrifying stories at once of people, a shark injury or something like that, And most of them end up getting back on the surfboard. Most of them end up like finding a way to do something, whether it's coaching or whatever it is. But you don't want your story to end, is the point, right? So that identity factor is really, really important, because if you feel like it's taken away from you, and if you feel like it's the source of all of you, like that's all of me, then you feel like you're done. And that feeling is absolutely acknowledged, allow it, but you can't stay there, right? We always talk about like depression and all these other feelings. They're not really negative, like anger is not negative, but you can't live there. It's not a livable place. It's not a thrivable place. It will only hold you back. So that's kind of where we're going with tonight. So in terms of injury, I'm just going to give you a little personal note. I was not going to be on tonight. I found out as I was treating today that my mother-in-law had a bad fall. So she's in the hospital right now. And, you know, before we start our meditation, I'm just going to offer time for me to focus on her. And like, if you guys feel called to do that, I'd be appreciative. And then I might ask you to think of somebody as well, and we'll give a little bit of energy to them as well. I feel like there was something else I wanted to discuss, and I have to think about it now. The self. Okay. So, questions for tonight. Where in your life, like if you didn't do the mind map, where in your life have you felt, or are you feeling, actually, yeah, let's do it this way. Where in your life in the past have you felt like your identity was taken away, like it was impeded, like something happened to you and it really switched everything on you? That's the first question. Write it down or watch the video again. Okay? So, Billy, can you think of any time that happened to you?
When I had my identity stolen.
When you, okay, he literally had his identity stolen on multiple fronts, and that took a long time too. I mean, that's kind of a crazy thing. How did that feel to you? Just, I mean, part of it was just feeling so unjust. I know that for you, but what else? Yeah. How did you,
my computer and stuff. That was fun. Losing all my data.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So after that part of it,
Mr. Robot.
After that part of it was over, like when you finally started to figure everything out and reclaim your literal identity, is there another part of it that you were able to see as a gift? That's always kind of an interesting question.
I'm really good at cybersecurity now and computers.
Okay. He's really good at that.
Never again.
Never again. I don't like always flipping things like that, because sometimes crappy things really do just happen. But there generally is some strange gift down the line. And maybe for Billy, it would be like that he's able to help somebody else with that really quickly so they don't have to suffer like that or whatever it is. But it doesn't mean that it's okay for it to have happened, right? Anyway, so just things to think about. So for tonight, the other question is, where in your life right now, like I advise you to go take that mind map. Like if you don't know what we're talking about right now, I have to slow down. Go to last week's video and watch me do it with you guys. That mind map can be really life-altering and really help you see what's in the deep, wonderful crevices of your gorgeous mind that are haunting you maybe or holding you back, and highlight it and work on it and start to see where you need to kind of switch the role and switch the thought process. So that's what I'm thinking about tonight. And remember, it doesn't have to be all at once, right? Nothing needs to change all at once. The third question is, can we change? I've heard many, many people say in my lifetime, that's so-and-so, I'm going to give a name out. That Mike, he was a cheater, he's this, he's that, he doesn't play fair, he's always going to be like that. You know, people don't change. That's always the thing that I hear. People don't change. And in fact, you know, people change all the time. And I want you to think about this. I can give you many, many examples of how people change, but I want you to start to explore that, because it all ties into how we see ourselves, how we identify, and then how we see others. You know, literally, you have a cell turnover every day. every single day. It slows down over the years, you know, things slow down, but you have a cell turnover. It happens every year, every day. Then spiritually, do you really believe that people can change? Because if you don't, we need to figure this out and talk about it, because that's also minimizing and encapsulating yourself that you can't change. And if you can't change, then we have a bigger problem, right? Because even though you're wonderful as you are, there's always going to be parts of you that need to be worked on, because if you didn't have that, people, you know, we live in a very boring place. We're not the same as the next person, and we're not supposed to be. And there's people that you're going to vibe with very, very easily, and there's going to be people that are going to challenge you in ways that you never thought you needed to be challenged or wanted to be challenged. But that's the other question for tonight, is just to see, where have I thought that people couldn't change? Have I been proven wrong? Obviously, I'm going to need to write out some questions formally for this week. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. I lost my Zoomers to some emergency phone calls. Anyway, so we're going to start a little early into the meditation, because I needed to be a little shorter night, and I'm speaking so fast, so I'm going to focus and calm myself down. So wherever you are, I want you to start to get comfortable, and I'll start speaking a lot slower. And you're just going to listen. So close your lights if you can. And see if you could start to close your eyes, and I'll start to talk about the same theme, but in meditation form. So for me, it's no secret to my close friends right now that I've had a pretty crummy narrative going on. It's been harder for me to get out of some negative thoughts. It's been harder for me to feel good about myself in certain ways, physically and other ways too. And I acknowledge that, you know, it's okay. It's not okay, meaning like I don't want to stay there, right? But it's okay because I know it's going to pass. I had a best friend in college who, one of the wisest things I've ever heard somebody say, she had a job she did not like. And I remember saying to her, like, wow, if it's so bad, you know, you should really leave. Why are you staying there? And she looked me dead in the eye and she said to me, Vanessa, I know it's not permanent. It's not permanent. It's not forever. So I'll go for now. And then when I decide that the time is right, then I'll leave. And that always stuck with me. I mean, we're talking about too long to mention right now. But it stuck with me because it made me remember that, you know, everything changes and things are not permanent. You know, and this always goes back to how change is so constant, and particularly right now. So that goes, you know, in my self-identity and the way I'm having this strange narrative go on, remembering that it's going to change. I have faith that it will change, and I'm going to put the work into it to make it change. So, yeah. And that's why we're doing that mind mapping exercise over and over again, so we could find these areas that are really underlying as an issue for us and start to change them. So, where you are, find your body. When I say find it, I really mean find it. Feel it. Feel everything is heavy on your bed, on your couch, on your pillows. And tonight, begin with the belly. Feel how your belly easily raises up and down.
Should I be laying down, like, on my back?
Are you more comfortable on your back or your belly?
Was there an optimal position for what you're asking us to do?
Okay. Lie on your back.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you, Billy. Okay. So first you're going to put your hands on your belly. You're going to have a soft raise to the belly. And if you don't feel that yet, you just start to focus on it. And some people are more practiced belly breathers than others. It does take practice. And as you allow the belly to rise and fall, you're going to feel the weight of your palms right in that area. Really, really important to actually feel the contact. Right now we're living in a world where we're not getting a lot of extra touch. We're not getting that from our friends necessarily. So I want you to feel your hands. And as the breath slows down, imagine that your palms are even heavier. Imagine that they are pushing down towards your back, that you can feel your own hands going towards your back. In yoga, we like to say belly to spine. But right now, it's your hands that are doing it. They are so strong, so powerful, and so loving. As adults, we don't necessarily connect to the belly as much. There's a lot of emotion connected there. But as babies, we are vulnerable there and allow it. We allow to be tickled and raspberried and kissed and all that stuff. So it's very, very important for us to go back there, to allow that vulnerability, and we start with ourselves. Allowing the rise and fall. Acknowledging your presence, that you're there, you're here, showing up for yourself, and in turn for others. And as the breath becomes more focused and slow, you might begin to see some colors. I want you to gather that. So here's a really easy visualization, another child thing. You're going to imagine that you can see balloons around you, really bright balloons. And whatever color you focus on first is the color that you're going to gather the balloons. One by one, you're going to pull the string towards you. And it's easy to get them. Make sure it's very easy for you to get these balloons. Gather them towards your belly. And maybe you start to add another color in. And it could be small, it could be large. Just gathering. So one by one, each breath takes in a new balloon. Each breath becomes easier and now more colorful. And notice what it feels like to gather. It's a really good feeling. We gather the air around us. You're literally gathering. Now, as we bring it to the navel area, something is going to happen here. One of those strings is going to connect down to the earth, right between your legs. And this string is really, really strong. The other balloons strings are going to tie into it, and it's going to become the anchor. And as all of these balloons anchor right between the legs, they're going to begin to represent that root chakra, that place where we began in our spiritual journey together, that place that roots us down into the earth. So here we see the colors of the balloons anchoring down for us. And you have that dichotomy going on, that anchor to the earth and the draw up to the sky through the balloons. Keep the breath steady, constant. So now we know the balloons are there. We're going to start to focus on each color. And the first color I'm going to ask you to address will be yellow. It's a golden yellow. It's the face of a sunflower. And it's bright and warm. You can see it however you want. Maybe it's a ball of light, more of an orb. And on the outskirts of it, it's lined with white, the divine white light. Let's imagine it coming into the palms. So if your hands are still on your belly, you'll start to feel that there's a ball of energy between the palms. And you can move them a little bit, pulsing in and out, and you'll be able to feel it. So, in the spiritual self, I always advise to give love to yourself first, because that's the type of love that keeps on giving. It's truly unconditional. Once you actually start to self-care and give to yourself, it basically multiplies your energy and that ability to give to others. So while it can seem very difficult to take care of yourself when you're in charge and helping other people, just remember, the most giving is the supply for self. That type of energy cultivates and gives. When you're replenished, it's unending. So between the palms, that soft pulse, the warmth, good. And then you're going to take your palms and put them out in front of you, widening the energy field, putting it all around you. You can encase the balloons that are anchored as well. Keep them in your energy field as a focal point. So now you have this golden yellow all around you, outskirts of white. And this is a big power source because this yellow comes from that solar plexus area. Citrine is a beautiful stone for this. And it helps clarify and bring really joyous energy to the body. So imagine this wonderful light all around you. We have a really happy picture going on here. Colorful balloons, golden orb. And then the last focal point is going to go around the head. So at the top of the head, where we always have that white, there's also violet. And that violet looks like a halo for you. Violet's one of those colors that in energy work, people tend to see a lot during a healing, but they don't necessarily know why. So if you think of violet as the last color on the spectrum of on the rainbow, it's right before everything goes into one and turns into white. And this is the area that connects us to divinity, to divine consciousness, that takes us out of our brain, out of that awful human narrative that can bind us down. So around the head, that crown, is this gorgeous halo of violet. And this is the healing place. This healing place is the culmination of all the chakras, of all the work that you do, the physical labor, the mental labor, the spiritual labor. And it takes it and it connects you to a source that's always there, always available, and truly infinite. So in tonight's healing, you're going to allow the violet to go not only all around you, but you're going to send it to any loved ones that come up. So for me tonight, it's definitely my mother-in-law, Janet. And first I'm going to visualize her. And sometimes the first image will come up of one of fear, of the worst case, of all the sad things, possibilities. And just like we did for the self earlier in our talk, you're going to reverse that. I'm going to imagine her, I'm going to see her receiving this violet white light. I'm going to see her body be whole and happy and warm. I'm going to see her inhale this light and watch it not only heal her, but connect her to the source. And for her, I know that's God, Jesus. So I'll use those terms for her. I'm going to see her smiling and looking peaceful. And as we focus on this in a meditation, you'll notice that your anxieties fade. Emotion might come up, but the anxious part, the fearful part will dissipate quickly. And then we just keep redirecting to that anytime we get distracted by all the what ifs. We see this picture again. So I focus on seeing her receive this violet light. Over and over again, I see it. And then the other thing that I see is that anchor that was helping us between our legs of all the balloons has now helped us float. So feel the body receive lightness. That fantastical view of balloons creating us, helping us float may seem silly, but we need some of that silliness in our lives. We need some of that childhood fantasy to take us away from this adult world of worry. So watch it. Imagine yourself now receiving this joy, receiving the colors of the balloons, the fun part. Maybe you're not lying down anymore. Maybe you're just floating above, watching things underneath, how green the grass is, the tops of the trees looking like broccoli. little dots of people running around. You need to feel that lightness, experience it in your heart, on your insides, and let it fly. And as that allows you to float, the whole body receives this lightness. It answers you with the assuredness that everything really is okay. Even when it feels scary and fast. You'll notice that my voice is quieter and slower because the meditation has helped me as well. So find this connection and just revel in it, allowing the body to receive the healing of slowness, of focused attention, notice how a light heart will just make you feel good. And you might feel that heat still in your hands. You're going to bring your palms back together and allow that warmth and everything to take over. You'll allow yourself to float back down. You'll put your palms on a place on your body where you feel you need it most. Again, noticing the contact, the feeling, the weight of the palms, the weight of the hands, the softness, the gentleness that you bring to yourself. And despite what you may normally believe, your normal narrative of yourself, how you identify, in this moment, all I want you to notice is how loved you are. And just notice how much you can change so quickly. Going back to that question of do people change? Well, you've just changed in just a few minutes. Your state of mind, your state of being, and whether or not you find meditation challenging or not, you've acquired a slower breath. So you'll take tonight's energy with you and bearing for one more moment, remembering who you were focusing on tonight and sending this connection from you to them, allowing the divine to take over. And you'll take a nice deep breath in with me. Exhale, Om. Feel free to take another one just like that.
Welcome to meditation.
So if you are a little late to the game on what we've been talking about with the self the past 2 weeks, you can always go back. I hope you do. And go back to the mind mapping, and always feel free to share it. Maybe I'll ask for people to share it too so we can keep that momentum going. And wherever you are in it, you're doing a great job. Okay, so as always, I'll post the homework. Those questions, reflection questions, are for this week. And, just remember you're not alone. Okay, everybody has things going on, but we are there for each other. And that's what matters, because we're supposed to have fun and be happy and joyous. So no matter what your week looks like, no matter what happens, make it a point to laugh, to call someone else up and make them laugh too, okay? And share it. So I'll see you soon. Good night.